for this project, we're going to create a logo of our initials, so first name and last name, and we're going to do that sort of encapsulating them inside of a hexagon, and we're going to use negative space to sort of show the first letter and the last letter. So in order to set this up, we're going to do an Instagram-sized page, and we're going to go to Canvas Show Grid. So that's going to put a 10 by 10 pixel grid across our board, and we're going to use our shape tool, the polygon specifically, to create a hexagon. Now I'm going to hold the shift key so that I can pull this thing so it's like straight up and down, and I'm going to make this hexagon, I'm going to lock the ratio together. I'm going to make the width of this 650. So it'll be 650 by technically 750.6. So it's not a it is what it is. So now I'm going to align this thing in the middle of the document, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the fill off, but I'm going to add a stroke, and I'm going to use an increment of 10 for the border. So I'm going to go 30, but then I'm going to go +1. We're going to do that really so like for overlapping reasons in a moment. We're going to create half of a hexagon, and we can do that by using the pen tool. So I'm going to grab the pen tool right here, and I'm going to set up my fill and stroke accordingly. So I just want a black fill. Oops, not what I meant to do. I'll start creating this. I'm going to hold shift to create a straight line right here. And I just want this half of a hexagon to cover the border. Now notice that for both of these shapes, the stroke is on the inside of the path, and that's what we want. However, for this one, I don't want any border, so I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to change my fill to black like so. So now what we have to do is we have to create a letter form using the pen tool, and then we're going to create a second letter on the other side. It sort of fits inside half of the hexagon. So for me, my name starts with the letter M, Michael, and then my last name also starts with the letter M. So if you have sort of the same letter, you're going to be able to sort of duplicate and reflect. Otherwise, you're going to sort of follow the same process, but with a different letter. So the way that I'm going to do this is I am going to turn off my border. I don't want any border at all. I do want a fill, and I'm going to remember I have view and I have snap to grid on, and so I'm going to create a grid. Let me undo that one. I'm going to create a letter that snaps to the grid, as you'll see right here. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to come on down holding the shift key, and I'm just going to sort of follow this like so, and I'm using my grid so I can get consistent lines. So I'm going to create the M, and then it's going to be a little bit wonky looking because it's sort of skewed into this shape, but I think it looks kind of neat that way as well. So I want this to be, I can count it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 wide. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go right here, I believe, and if I have to fine tune anything a little bit later, I certainly can, because I can use my direct selection tool. So I'm going to come up to here, and now I'm going to try to maintain that line. Let me go to right here. There we go. And I'll come to here, and I'll have to probably fine tune this in a moment. Right in there. Okay, so I've got sort of the start of my M. I'm going to switch to the Subselect tool, press the letter D on my keyboard. I'm going to keep this straight up, but I just have to sort of find what is the correct space for this. Using the grid makes it easy because it's going to sort of snap in place. All right, I sort of like the way that M looks. Again, I may make some adjustments a little bit later, like this. I think can go up 1, and we'll call that good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my pointer tool now, and I'm going to select this M, copy and paste it because my last name also starts with an M. I'm going to right click, transform. I'm going to flip horizontal, and then this I'm going to make the same color as my background over here. I'm going to go ahead and click on this white tool right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and position this similarly to how I did over here. So now I have this sort of side-by-side letter M using the negative space to sort of carve out the letter white. Now I could spend more time and I could make this into a truer single compound shape that I sort of refine a little bit, but I sort of like the way that it is right here. So let me just double check one other thing. Oh yeah, I want to make sure that this is lined up right here. So these should be side by side. That's perfect now. Okay, so the other thing that I could do is I could come in and I could play around with, well, it looks like this is not lined up. Let's get this just right. So let's bring this down one grid. There we go. All right, now it's lined up. Now I could play around with various colors. So I've got sort of this white and black. At this point, I'm going to go to my view canvas, show grid, turn that off, and I could play around with different colors. Maybe I want to do like an inverse version of this, and so maybe I go ahead and change my page color from white to, let's go like a dark gray right in here, and then I'm going to basically take the other white element and I'm going to make it equally gray. Well, I want this to be a little bit darker still, so let's go not quite black, but right in there. I'll take my white element. I'm going to do the same thing. I will take my eyedropper tool, select that, and then right here, I'm going to take my border color. I'm going to make this a very pale yellow. So, right, this sort of makes it look vintagey, so to speak. And then I just have to make everything else that is black here that same color. And so I'm going to click on the eyedropper, select that pale yellow off white, do the same right here, to create sort of that inverse version of this logo. If I wanted to export this so I could use it on a variety of different backgrounds, I could always click on my page color and then drop the alpha down to 0% like so. However, now I'd have to think about how do I do that in this piece right here. So I'd have to take this letter form and then this half of a hexagon, and I'm going to go to subtract like so. And so then I would be able to use this however I want. Okay, good luck making your letter forms inside the hexagon.